I am a wealthy woman, and therefore you should want to buy my products. A lack of, as ever, penetrating the market organically. She was willing to weirdly, creepily put a berry in her mouth, but she was not willing to use or eat the jam or the tea on film. No, not that. Can you believe it? Meghan Markle has rebranded yet again. But is it I have a headache chic or modern domestic snobbery? That is the question. While we are on our fourth official rebrand for her brand as ever, as never it should be called because it is never the same, and as ever would imply some degree of stability. But we are on the 64th version of the Meg. And you know who I think she's modeling her current era after right now? I think this rebrand season is the Emma Grede-inspired moment for Meghan Markle. That's what I think. If you missed my reaction to her appearance on the Aspire podcast with Emma Grede, I will link it for you at the top of the page if I can remember. It was nuts, you guys. But I definitely think that Meghan has harvested some inspiration from Emma at the moment. But we are going to get into the cringe that is this video. It is absolutely outrageous, as well as the journey of rebrands that As Ever has been through so far, and exactly why it's causing problems for Meghan's brand behind the scenes. But before we do, I would like to invite you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Click hype and like this video if you'd like to, and leave me a comment down below on whether you agree that this seems a little bit too similar to Emma's aesthetic. I'm curious to know your opinion. So you know how most big brands, you know exactly who they're talking to. You know who the marketing is catered towards. You know, it's like super obvious. Nike is undeniably speaking to athletes and fans of athleisure. Real is obviously speaking directly to fashionistas. Dr. Squatch, expert marketing, I must say. They are a men's care line, and they have very skillfully targeted their audience. Khloe Kardashian came out with Cloud Popcorn. It's like a protein popcorn. Very clear customer targeting there as well. These are just a handful of examples, but like if you look at successful brands and successful products, it's very clear who they are for and who they have in mind to be the consumer base here. Companies pay for marketing experts for a reason. When you know your customer, you can successfully cater your advertising to them. And it really pays off via sales and engagement. It's the path of least resistance to sell a product or a brand. So who is Meghan speaking to here? Who is the customer base for As Ever? It's incredibly difficult to say. Every time I ask myself this, I struggle to really pinpoint and create the avatar of the customer for As Ever. And the reason it's impossible to picture the As Ever customer is that the brand violates the first rule of modern direct-to-consumer marketing. Instead of being built around a specific consumer need or subculture or demographic, As Ever was built around Meghan's desired self-image. I would say the biggest hurdle to this, the biggest thing stopping this from successfully coming through, is that she anchors all her marketing in herself. And because of the habitual rebrands on top of it, the brand is so unfamiliar, so poorly defined, and thereby the customer is ambiguous, which is a huge problem. So let's go through this super cringe video first, shall we? This is just plain rough. Like on the surface, this is horrible. We're gonna go through it frame by frame. I have rarely seen anyone this self-obsessed. Truly, the squinty, half-open eyes while hesitating before eating a berry. It's not just cringe, it's bizarre. And it's fascinating the profound lack of awareness that Meghan has to post this and think that it will be good marketing or look good or bolster her brand. It simply doesn't. It's pathetically, weirdly self-absorbed to the point of discomfort for the viewer. And honestly, it looks like she has a headache. It's just so strange and so contrived. The barely smelling the flour and tucking it into the basket with the thing, the the sweater over the shoulder, again, it's very try hard, but also I'm noticing here some real aggressive brand incongruency here. Notice the caption says, "What began with fruit from Megan's garden, simmered into preserves in her home kitchen, has inspired our curated collections to bring surprise and delight to your everyday." So many problems here. She's not in her garden here. She's in that neighbor lady's garden who let her film With Love Megan on her property. She's not in her home kitchen. In any of these scenes, she's on the set from With Love Megan. So none of this is authentic to Megan. This is not genuine. It's not really her home kitchen, her fruit, or her flowers in this ad. Additionally, she's here in thousands of dollars of clothing trying to sell something homey, if we were to believe the caption. So they don't match. Let's see what else is in store here. A set kitchen, tons of expensive hydrangeas, and then her jam that by all accounts doesn't taste that great. This sitting on the counter, it's laughable. What is this? She's a terrible actress. No offense, but this is bad acting. This is the definition of that. And this moment, she grabs the jar out of the cupboard. She is seen opening it, and then she's seen looking at it with the lid back on a moment later. This is bad sequencing from a marketing perspective. She should pull the jar out, look at it, then open it. The timeline here is all screwy, and that does matter for marketing. The overdressed luxury sort of vibe that she's trying to sell here just does not align with the products, and it's not likable, and it doesn't really make sense either. And then the last shot we have of Megan is not the products, but rather her putting on a jacket. So then it leads us to wonder, is she selling the clothing or is she selling the products? Make up your mind. So we have pointed out myriad problems. Lack of product usage is a big one. The products don't look that attractive in this food spread here of the snacks. It all looks kind of bland. It's not very vibrant. There's no scenes of her actually eating or enjoying her products either. They're just there. The only thing we see her actually partake in is a berry. And overall, this is much more Megan focused than it is product focused. All of it being in her set, not her actual home. We have brand alignment problems here. It's incongruous, but we can all attribute the problems of this marketing attempt to three main mistakes. A lack of brand identity. This is yet another rebrand, and we have those incongruous elements. The fact that this is actually all about Megan, whose proven unlikability will never support this model of influencer-led branding and marketing, and the tone overall. So let's start with lack of brand identity and lack of continuity. This is the fourth vibe that As Ever has been through or tried to adopt. First, it was American Riviera Orchard Montecito, which was stuffy, pretentious, over the top, a wannabe royal, really reaching for an upper class aesthetic, ball gown in the kitchen. Remember that? Okay, that mess. Then she pivoted to the As Ever rebrand. She was forced to rename the brand. And this initial launch of this version of As Ever was barefoot in the grass, laid back, down to earth type vibe that saw a lot of bare feet. Bare feet in the garden, bare feet on the stool, too much long feet. This attempt was in conflict with the still over-the-top spindly cursive, and the pretentious undercurrent was still there, but she was definitely trying to anchor it more in this is a farmer's market type vibe. She even used the phrase farmer's market multiple times to try to be oh, this is the connection here. I'm inspired by farmer's markets, or I want to be a farmer's market type vibe. Then, early this year, we had another pivot where she tried to make As Ever seem more chic in early 2026. She wanted to push in a little bit more edge via a cool factor, or so she thought. She did more of an aspirational branding type situation, that this was an elevated aesthetic, As Ever was, but really it just came off snobby and try hard. Now she's trying to inject a little bit more of a modern vibe to this. She's trying to, I think, simplify a little bit and streamline a little bit. It looks a little bit less fussy, yes, but the biggest problem here is the luxury relatability paradox. She seems really hung up on making sure that she drives home the point of luxury. I am a wealthy woman, and therefore you should want to buy my products. So she's making wealth or wealth signaling a main theme in her advertising, which is a major mistake for so many obvious reasons. And the luxury relatability paradox creates severe cognitive dissonance. The video's text and caption lean heavily into a cozy, organic, down-to-earth narrative attempt. Yet visually, she's styled in a multi-$1,000 casual outfit from the row, accessorized with an expensive diamond tennis necklace worth roughly $63,000 and an $8,000 Cartier bracelet in a billionaire's guest house that she used as a set. The error here is a basic rule of consumer psychology, that the lifestyle on display needs to match the product being sold. Dripping in over $70,000 worth of luxury jewelry while trying to sell relatable homemade jam creates a massive authenticity gap. It alienates the middle market consumers who feel mocked by the fake relatability, while actual luxury buyers aren't looking to buy jam from a celebrity kitchen. Which leads us to the next point of being so Meghan focused. This Meg focused branding is being prioritized over actual product marketing. For a very disliked public figure, this is the wrong approach completely, because she is the center of As Ever's identity and always has been. She's doomed it. She's clawing it down with her. And because she's prioritized herself, she's simultaneously taking away from the products. She's pulling attention onto herself rather than pushing attention onto the products, which is what a celebrity ambassador or a celebrity brand is supposed to do. The whole point is for you to be the tool that gets the product attention, not using the product as another chance to showcase yourself, which is what Meghan's doing. It's like backwards. This video features zero dialogue, so it relies entirely on moody music and shows Meghan swapping between multiple neutral outfits while floating through gardens, holding jam jars, and reading next to candles. The mistake is that good promotional content clearly communicates product utility or distinct value. This video plays more like a stylized fashion lookbook or a soft launch for an apparel line than a commercial for home goods and pantry items. When consumers walk away from a marketing material wondering, is she selling the jam or the candles or the shirt or the clothes? What is this for? Or the flowers? The marketing has failed, which leads us to the third big mistake, which is the tone of this video. Lifestyle brands like this thrive on warmth, hospitality, and inclusivity, like Joanna Gaines or Martha Stewart, or like your favorite Food Network person putting out their cookware line. Instead of that sort of approach that has a lot of like connection to the consumer base, this video leans heavily into smug countertop energy, perching on a kitchen counter with a highly curated, knowing smirk while reading a book next to a plate of cookies that don't even look like they're part of her line at all. And every single scene of Meghan, it looks like she's looking down her nose at the camera and thereby the customer, is a huge problem. The error here is that the body language reads as performative and closed off rather than warm and inviting. In lifestyle marketing, if the host looks like they are superior to the audience rather than welcoming them in, it breaks the parasocial bond required to drive influencer-based sales. And Meghan is already starting in a huge deficit because she is so disliked. And to make matters worse, she has these items priced at like premium price points without any degree of brand equity. Her recent marketing attempts have been to push items like Mother's Day candles at $64 per candle or a $256 set of candles. $256 set of candles. That's insane. When you have high luxury pricing, it requires a deep historical pedigree, exceptional scarcity, or undeniable craftsmanship equity, like really high quality that you cannot deny, that clearly conveys that it's worth the price. But As Ever has absolutely none of these yet. In fact, it has a reputation for being subpar and not worth the price. Even worse, her suppliers are known for a lot of the products and show that she is marking things up more than 3 times the cost of the same product without Meghan Markle's label attached. Attempting to extract top-tier luxury price margins, profit margins, out of a brand new, heavily critiqued startup relies entirely on the assumption that her name alone carries that premium. This assumption is deeply flawed and lacking all manner of realistic logic. Meghan does not have the social capital that some influencers have, or like Food Network hosts have, or people like Martha Stewart or Gwyneth Paltrow have, to convince a consumer that it's going to be worth the price or that it's actually a good product. And on top of it, she's further undermining her brand with the timing. Instead of establishing a product-focused brand identity that is independent, she continues this petty pattern of publicity hijacking. This video dropped on May 11th, I think it was, which aligned perfectly with a week of major pre-scheduled royal events in the UK, like garden parties at Buckingham Palace. Successful commercial brands launch products based on strict market data, seasonal retail calendars, and consumer purchasing habits. Tying a brand's content drops to personal or political PR timelines signals that the business isn't a serious commercial venture. It's a reactionary tool for capturing headlines. Consumers pick up on this petty energy, and it cheapens the commercial integrity of the products. Overall, this felt super lame, and the biggest takeaway is that it reeks of desperation. It feels like Meghan is desperately trying to seek out customers, to seek engagement on social media, and to boost sales. It feels like she's either elevating herself or frantically rebranding to try to make it work. And that's the exact problem here. She's trying to reverse engineer success rather than fostering growth, because the initial spike of interest was largely, a huge percentage of it was due to people wanting to review it to create their own content or for their job or for writing articles. So that initial spike was a false precedent. And immediately following that, there was a steep cliff of hugely declining sales. And now she's desperately trying to find the right formula, the right combination of moody, squinty berry eating and looking down her nose at the camera while opening a jar of jam around a bunch of flowers that are not for sale, to try to recreate that success. But the big problem that she's missing is that she never had success. She had a skewed metric initially because she's so disliked that everybody wanted to review the products and see if they were any good or not. And there's even evidence that suggests she's not finding her audience with this attempt. In influencer marketing, a successful consumer brand inevitably leaks into the wider social media ecosystem through user-generated content. What I mean by that is, for example, a new product is out there, there's an influencer either in charge of the brand, owning the brand, creating it, or just paired up as an ambassador promoting it, whatever. Then their followers see it, try the product, and post about it themselves. It's like a pyramid scheme of influence. And marketing analysts look for specific organic metrics, meaning from people who are not connected to the brand, they're not being paid or sent free product, or, the best friend of the person in charge of the brand, something like that. Like organically out there, disconnected from the brand, a true consumer target. Marketing analysts are looking for those types of people posting and talking about a brand or a product to prove that a brand has healthy cultural penetration. And As Ever is largely lacking. And we have 3 different areas of evidence to support a lack of As Ever penetrating the market organically. First, The validation vacuum. Although As Ever and Meghan actively reposts highly curated, flattering mentions from a very small collection of her personal connections, there is a total and complete absence of independent, credible validation. There's no Michelin-starred chefs or major lifestyle influencers or respected food bloggers or high-end restaurateurs that have organically featured the items in their content or have just casually said, like, oh yeah, that's actually really good. Nothing of the sort. There are virtually no organic, trending mentions on social medias of dupes or copycat small batch recipes, anything of that nature. There's very few blind YouTube taste tests from regular everyday creators. They are all in the royal commentator genre and niche. Social media mentions of the brand are almost entirely restricted to polarized entertainment or royal watching communities. On platforms like X or Reddit or YouTube, the discourse is overwhelmingly driven by the personal public relations of Meghan Markle rather than consumers discussing the product quality or its lifestyle utility or anything of that nature. So we know she's not getting traction organically, authentically. And part of that, we know, is the marketing approach. And the biggest flaw, from my perspective, is that lack of clear consumer. So let me ask you, who do you think the As Ever consumer is? Who is she trying to sell it to? When you look at Dr. Squatch, for example, the consumer avatar is crystal clear. It's the everyday guy who wants natural grooming products but doesn't want something overly flowery or sort of hippie-esque aesthetic of traditional wellness brands. The utility and the identity match, and the cheeky marketing helps it along. But when you look at As Ever, the consumer avatar is completely invisible. The branding is trapped in a multi-layered identity crisis of Meghan Markle herself, which has resulted in 4 distinct structural disconnects. And therefore, As Ever, as a brand, is the ultimate case study of the trap of a stan versus a spender demographic divide. A brand's loudest online supporters are rarely its highest paying customers. The people driving a brand's social media engagement are parasocial defenders and royal watching communities. They are highly motivated by public relations and defense of Meghan's personal narrative and cultural loyalty. Her online base is not buying the products, though, because of the brand's pricing strategy. $42 preserve trio, $64 single candles, $280 pantry bundles. This requires a high net worth luxury consumer at this price point in today's economy. So the disconnect is that the high net worth luxury consumers would generally buy products based on prestige, historical heritage, quiet exclusivity, something special about that product. And those people, the high net worth luxury consumers, tend to be highly discerning. They tend to actively avoid polarizing, headline-grabbing celebrity drama because people who are super petty and in the tabloids all the time come across as super tacky. So she has alienated potential high spenders who would be able to afford her products because of her reputation. Meanwhile, her average supporter, as few as there are, who defend her in the comments section, are not going to regularly, consistently, if ever, drop $64 on a candle, even if it's named after her or her birthday or her kids. So the market that might be willing to buy to support her just because they support Meghan blindly don't have the money to do so and are clearly not supporting her brand thus far, at least not enough. And the market with the money doesn't want the tacky brand baggage. Adding on another layer of problems is the me-commerce that Meghan has seemed to gravitate towards. In a successful brand, the consumer is the hero of the story. They are who you are speaking to. They are who you are there for. They are who you are trying to connect to. They are everything. The product is a tool that is meant to enhance the buyer's life or wellness or identity. However, with As Ever, the products exist to validate the founder's identity exclusively. They seem only there to uplift Meghan's self-opinion. The marketing copy might say that it's about bringing delight to your everyday, but the visual execution is an open love letter to Meghan's personal lifestyle that is out of reach for her supporters. It's her faux garden, faux kitchen, her spindly cursive, and her high fashion loungewear. The consumer isn't being invited to elevate their own kitchen. They're being asked to buy a ticket to look at her kitchen. Well, not her kitchen, the one that she shoots her marketing in. And because the consumer is not the protagonist of the marketing material, a consumer avatar cannot form. Successful brands typically pick a lane and they dominate its aesthetic. Martha Stewart mastered traditional domestic hospitality. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop mastered elite, hyper-niche California wellness snobbery. Rachel Ray dominated relatable, real-life kitchen utility. As Ever attempts to blend entirely incompatible genres. It takes this rusty, cozy, earth-toned products that have that small town farmer's market vibe, things like jams, herbal tea, honey, and she wraps them up in a clinical, ultra-minimalist, high fashion aesthetic in this video. Those two ideas fight against each other. And in doing so, an error was found that leaked back-end size charts spanning from extra small to 5XL. That signals an imminent push to inclusive mass market apparel of some sort. Now, it could just be things like aprons and t-shirts, standard merch, but it could be that she's trying to do something else. Let's hope not. But regardless, you can't easily market a brand that simultaneously is trying to target ultra high-end Montecito luxury collectors and people who are interested in sort of exclusive type, gifty type products with mass market inclusive loungewear buyers at the same time. What's happening here is that Meghan and her brand is trying to be everything to everyone and is ending up being nothing to anyone except for Meghan, because she's treating it like a vehicle to promote herself and show her lifestyle. That's what she's treating this like. And in this video specifically, because she didn't even show herself actually consuming not one of the products, not one, she was willing to weirdly, creepily put a berry in her mouth, but she was not willing to use or eat the jam or the tea on film. No, not that. Because of that, we have what marketing experts call a product utility void. When a consumer looks at a functional product, something that you would use, like a food product or a personal care item or something for your kitchen, like a spatula, it doesn't matter what it is, the consumer instantly can understand its role in their daily routine. You instantly visualize how you would be using it or what good it would be for you. But As Ever lacks all manner of clear lifestyle utility, in part because she doesn't show herself actually enjoying the product, or anyone for that matter actually enjoying the products. I've been saying this ever since she started this project, that she puts herself in all the pictures, touching the products weirdly, doing things, carrying trays, doing things like that, but she doesn't actually show herself enjoying the products ever. Probably because she's too insecure to actually do it, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe she doesn't even like them. Who knows? But the marketing itself isn't positioning these goods as culinary grade essentials for foodies, nor is it positioning them as avant-garde design pieces for interior decorators, nor is it looking like, oh, this is something delicious that you really should try. None of the above. Instead, the products feel like overpriced souvenirs that you get a glimpse at Meghan's life by way of buying this souvenir. And the keepsake packaging further drives that point home. A $42 jar of jam or a custom spindly cursive-y bookmark is purchased as a novelty or a token of support, not as a repeatable habit-forming consumer good. When a brand relies on novelty rather than utility, it simply cannot build a stable, predictable consumer base. Ultimately, As Ever doesn't have a consumer avatar because it isn't looking outward at the market at all. It's a mirror reflecting a highly curated lifestyle back at the founder, leaving the actual customers standing on the outside, wondering what they are supposed to do with a jar of jam and a $62,000 diamond necklace. I think for me, besides the whole, this is all about Meghan, and even the marketing is showing us that she doesn't care about the consumer. She's not, catering this towards the consumer. She doesn't have a vision of the consumer. No, her vision of a consumer is just somebody who supports me and wants to buy my stuff because it's me. Which doesn't work for somebody who is severely disliked. But I think besides that, for me, the worst part is the paradox of the products against Meg's interpretation of how they should be showcased. If she had stuck with the farmer's market ethos of the initial As Ever, that second rebrand that we saw, where she had the barefoot vibe situation. If she had done that for a little bit longer, I think she may have achieved some degree of growth and gained a little bit of a footing because that felt like it had a little bit more of a personal touch narrative to it. And I think that would have landed a little better over time. But that would have required dedication to the image for more than 2 seconds. And because now she has rebranded so many times, it feels like that initial, this is a farmer's market-y type of thing. This is legit a passion project of mine. These are recipes from my kitchen that were adapted for mass market. And I want them to feel almost like a little bit crafty, a little bit more personal, a little bit more like what you would see in a farmer's market. That now is disingenuous because she has changed the vibe 2 additional times since then. This is the 4th rebrand. So we know that wasn't authentic and true anymore. So now that potential is ruined. And now we're in this weird space where it really truly has come to fruition what we all suspected all the time, that this is just about Meghan. And this is just something she's going to use as a pet project to elevate herself. It's another venue or avenue to put herself out there and elevate herself. And that's it. That's all this is about. It's not about the consumer. It's not about an authentic brand story or anything of that nature. But leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to see what you thought of this creepy video. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you soon. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye.